Top clearance. TVS. You should grab before prices jump. Everyone's asking, should I wait for the new 2026 models or buy last year's clearance TVS? Here's what nobody's telling you. Right now, 2025 models are hitting rock bottom prices. We're talking 30 to 50% off flagship OLEDs and mini LEDs. But here's the kicker. TV prices are about to spike hard. RAM shortages have quadrupled memory costs. Tariffs are still looming. And retailers know that once inventory clears, they can charge whatever they want for 2026 models. Translation? The deals you're seeing right now might be the last great TV bargains for years. Let's talk about which ones are actually worth grabbing before they're gone. Section 1. Why this moment matters, Brist. You need to understand what's happening in the TV market right now. Because this isn't your typical President's Day sale. This is a perfect storm of clearance pressure and upcoming price chaos. Every February, retailers slash prices on last year's flagship TVS to make room for new models. That's normal. The LG C5 OLED launched at $1,999 for the 65-inch. Right now, Best Buy has it for $1,299. That's $700 off a TV that's barely 6 months old. The Samsung S90F OLED launched at $2,799, currently $1,899. These are deep, legitimate discounts on TVS that are still near the top of every best of list. But here's what's different this year. TV prices are about to get ugly. According to TrendForce, the research firm that tracks this stuff, RAM prices have quadrupled over the past year. Every TV needs memory chips to run its operating system and apps. Those chips now cost 4 times what they did in early 2025. And manufacturers are warning that retail prices are going up to compensate. Get this, contract prices for the 4GB DDR4 memory used in most 4K TVS increased by over 60% just in the first quarter of 2026. That's on top of the doubling and tripling that happened throughout 2025. Why? AI data centers are buying up every memory chip they can get their hands on, creating shortages across the entire electronics market. Samsung's been the most vocal about warning that prices are rising. At CES in January, they straight up told retailers and press that 2026 TVs would cost more than 2025 models, not because of better features, but because components cost more to make. LG, Sony, Hisense, TCL, they're all dealing with the same problem. And it's not just memory. Panel prices increased in January 2026 for the first time in months. Display panels make up 40 to 50% of a TV's manufacturing cost. So when those go up, retail prices follow. Throw in potential tariffs on Chinese and Mexican-assembled TVs. Samsung and LG both assemble in Mexico, and you're looking at price increases anywhere from 5 to 25% on new models. One Best Buy employee put it plainly on Reddit. We've been told to push 2025 clearance hard because once these are gone, similar models from 2026 will be $200 to $500 more expensive. Management knows customers are going to flip when they see the new price tags. So yeah, this isn't just a sale. This is the last chance to buy premium TVS at pre-crisis pricing. Section 2. Best overall clearance pick. LG C5 OLED. Let's start with the single best TV you can buy right now, clearance or otherwise. The LG C5 OLED. GINT the C5 launched in mid-2025 and immediately became the gold standard for OLED TVs. Perfect blacks, infinite contrast, near instant response time for gaming. And here's the important part. It's currently on sale for $1,299 for the 65-inch at Best Buy, down from $1,999 MSRP. That's 35% off a TV that normally doesn't drop below $1,699 until Black Friday. Why is the C5 special? It uses LG's latest OLED panel with something called primary RGB tandem technology. That's a fancy way of saying it's brighter than previous LG OLEDs without needing the micro lens array tech from the G4. In testing, the C5 hits around 1,400 to 1,500 nits peak brightness in HDR. That's bright enough to make HDR content pop, even in moderately lit rooms. But brightness isn't why you buy an OLED. You buy it for the picture quality. Every pixel generates its own light, which means blacks are truly black, not gray like on LED TVs. Contrast is perfect. Color accuracy out of the box is excellent. And because there's no backlight bleeding or blooming, dark scenes in movies look exactly how the director intended. For gamers, the C5 is basically the industry standard. For HDMI 2.1 ports that support 4K at 120 Hz, VRR, or variable refresh rate on all ports, input lag under 10 milliseconds. It's what professional reviewers use as the baseline when testing other gaming TVs. The WebOS operating system is snappy and intuitive. The Magic Remote is still one of the best TV remotes you can buy. And LG's reputation for reliability? Solid. These aren't the OLEDs from 2017 that people worried would burn in after a year. Modern LG OLEDs, especially the C series, have proven durable. Now, is there a catch? Sort of. The C5 is brighter than older LG OLEDs, but it's still not as bright as Samsung's QD OLED panels, like the S95F or Sony's offerings. If you're in a room with huge windows and afternoon sun blasting directly at the screen, you might prefer a mini LED TV instead. But for most people, in most rooms, the C5 is bright enough. One satisfied buyer wrote, "Upgraded from a 2019 Sony to the C5. Honestly, I didn't think the jump would be this dramatic. Watching the Batman in Dolby Vision felt like seeing it for the first time. Blacks are black, not dark gray, black, worth every penny at $1,299. The 55-inch C5 is currently $899, which is absurd value for an OLED this good. If you've got the space, the 65-inch at $1,299 is the sweet spot. Bigger sizes, 77-inch and 83-inch, are also discounted, but you're still paying premium prices at those sizes. Bottom line, if you want the best TV under $1,500, buy the LG C5 OLED before it sells out. Once 2026 OLED prices hit, you'll be paying $1,799 for something comparable. Section 3. Best Budget Mini LED, TCL QM6K. If OLED is out of your budget or you need serious brightness for a sun-drenched room, the TCL QM6K is the best clearance deal under $800. The QM6K is TCL's entry-level mini LED TV for 2025, and it punches way above its weight class. The 65-inch model launched at $799. Right now at Amazon, it's $547. That's $252 off a TV that was already considered one of the best values of the year. Mini LED means the backlight uses thousands of tiny LEDs instead of a few dozen big ones. That gives you way better control over brightness and contrast compared to standard LED TVs. The QM6K has full array local dimming, which means it can dim specific zones of the screen to make dark scenes look darker without washing out bright areas. In testing, the QM6K hits around 1,200 to 1,400 nits peak brightness. That's more than enough to overcome glare and make HDR content look punchy. Colors are vibrant thanks to quantum dots. And black levels, while not OLED perfect, are surprisingly deep for a TV at this price. Gaming features? Solid. The QM6K supports 4K at 120 Hz. Plus, it has a 144 Hz mode at 1080p, which is rare at this price. Input lag is low. It's not as responsive as the LG C5, but for the money, it's excellent. Here's what you need to know about Mini LED. It's a compromise. You get way brighter highlights than OLED, which is great for daytime viewing and sports. But you also get some blooming, halos around bright objects on dark backgrounds. The QM6K handles this better than most budget Mini LEDs, but it's still there if you're watching in a pitch-black room and sitting close to the screen. The OS is Google TV, which is fine. Not as polished as LG's Web OS, but it gets the job done and has all the major apps. The remote is basic but functional. One Redditor summed it up perfectly. Bought the 65-inch QM6K for $550 during Black Friday. 6 weeks in, zero regrets. Daytime sports look incredible. Movies at night are great as long as you're not obsessing over blooming. For half the price of an OLED, it's a no-brainer. The 55-inch QM6K is currently $449 at Best Buy. The 75-inch is $747. The 85-inch is around $997, which is borderline insane for that much screen real estate with Mini LED backlighting. What to watch out for? TCL's quality control can be hit or miss. Most people get perfect panels. Some people get units with dead pixels or backlight uniformity issues. Amazon and Best Buy have generous return policies, so if you get a bad one, swap it immediately. Don't sit on a defective TV hoping it gets better. Bottom line, if you need a big, bright TV for under $600, the TCL QM6K at current clearance prices is the best deal on the market. Section 4. Best Premium Mini LED, Hisense U8QG. If you want the brightness of Mini LED but with OLED level picture quality, the Hisense U8QG is your move. The U8QG sits near the top of Hisense's 2025 lineup, just below the flagship U9QG. It launched at $1,499 for the 55-inch. Right now, you can find it for around $999. The 65-inch launched at $1,999, currently selling for $1,399. That's $600 off a TV that reviewers called one of the brightest Mini LEDs ever tested. And they weren't kidding. In HDR, the U8QG hits between 3,900 and 4,000 in its peak brightness. That's obscene. For context, the LG C5 OLED maxes out around 1,400 nits. The TCL QM6K hits maybe 1,400. The U8QG triples that. Why does that matter? If your living room has big windows, afternoon sun, or overhead lights that can't be turned off, brightness is your friend. The U8QG can overpower glare that would wash out most other TVs. It's perfect for daytime sports, bright HDR content, and any situation where you can't control the lighting. But it's not just brightness. The U8QG has excellent color volume. It covers about 84% of the Rec 2020 color gamut, which is better than most Mini LEDs at this price. Black levels are deep. Local dimming is aggressive without being distracting. And out-of-the-box color accuracy is surprisingly good for a Hisense. Gaming features are top tier. 4 HDMI 2.1 ports, 4K at 120 Hz, VRR, low input lag, the whole package. The catch? At extreme brightness, the U8QG can look a little aggressive. Some reviewers noted that in HDR mode, it pushes highlights brighter than the content creator intended, which can blow out details in very bright scenes. You can tweak this in settings. But if you're a purist who wants picture-perfect accuracy out of the box, the TCL QM6K is actually more accurate in HDR. One tech reviewer who tested both put it this way: the U8QG is for people who watch TV during the day. If you've got sunlight pouring in, this TV laughs at it. But if you primarily watch at night in a dark room, the TCL QM7K or an OLED will give you a more refined picture. The U8QG is a hammer. It solves brightness problems by hitting them really, really hard. Sizes. The 55-inch is around $999. The 65-inch is $1,399. The 75-inch is $1,899. The 85-inch is $2,599, which is steep, but still cheaper than most 85-inch OLEDs. One warning: Hisense uses Fire TV as its operating system. Some people love the Alexa integration. Most people find Fire TV clunky and ad-heavy compared to Google TV or WebOS. If you hate Fire TV, factor that into your decision. Bottom line, if brightness is your priority and you've got $1,000 to $1,400 to spend, the Hisense U8QG at clearance prices is one of the best mini LED TVs you can buy. Section 5. Best Budget OLED, LG B5. Want OLED picture quality but can't swing $1,000 to $299 for the C5? The LG B5 is your answer. And the B5 is LG's entry-level OLED for 2025. It uses the same panel technology as the C5, but with a less powerful processor and fewer premium features. The 55-inch launched at $1,199. Right now at Best Buy, it's $899. The 65-inch launched at $1,799. Currently $1,399. What do you lose compared to the C5? Brightness, mainly. The B5 tops out around 900 to 1,000 nits in HDR versus 1,400 to 1,500 nits on the C5. That's still plenty for most rooms, but if you're in a bright space, you'll notice the difference. The processor is also a step down. Upscaling isn't quite as sharp. Motion handling isn't quite as smooth. But here's the thing, it's still an OLED. Perfect blacks, infinite contrast, gorgeous colors, near-instant pixel response for gaming. For gaming specifically, the B5 has 4 HDMI 2.1 ports, just like the C5. 4K at 120 Hz, VRR, low input lag. It's basically the same gaming experience for $400 less. One buyer summed it up. Came from a 2018 Samsung QLED to the B5. I was worried I'd regret not spending extra on the C5, but honestly, I can't see the difference in my basement setup. Maybe in a bright room, I'd care about the extra brightness, but for my use case, the B5 is perfect. If you're on a tighter budget and want OLED, the B5 at $899 for 55 inches or $1,399 for 65 inches is the move. Section 6. What to avoid. Before you pull the trigger, let's talk about what not to buy, even on clearance. Skip any TV using older LED backlight technology without local dimming. If the box doesn't say Mini LED, QLED, Full Array, or Local Dimming, you're looking at an edge-lit panel that will have terrible contrast and backlight bleed, even at $299. When these aren't worth it, skip 8K TVS. Samsung still makes them. They're on clearance? Don't care. There's no 8K content. Streaming services barely have native 4K. you're paying a massive premium for resolution your eyes literally cannot perceive from normal viewing distances. Skip older OLED models from 2022 or 2023. If you see an LG C2 or C3 on clearance for $799, that might seem tempting. But the C5 and B5 are brighter, have better processors, and will get software updates longer. Spend the extra $100 and get the current generation, and skip anything with fake specs. If a brand you've never heard of is advertising 4K QLED for $199, it's lying. Real quantum dot technology costs money. Budget brands slap QLED on anything with a colorful picture and hope you don't know the difference. Section 7. How to buy smart. Here's your game plan. First, figure out your room. A bright room with lots of windows? Mini LED. Dark room or basement? OLED. Mixed use? Mini LED gives you more versatility. Second, pick your size. Don't go smaller than 55 inches if you're sitting 8 to 10 feet away. Don't go bigger than 65 inches if you're in a small bedroom. Bigger isn't always better. Third, check multiple retailers. Best Buy has the widest selection. Amazon usually matches prices and has easier returns. Costco sometimes has exclusive bundles with extended warranties. Fourth, buy now. These clearance prices won't last. Once inventory sells through, retailers will pull the listings and wait for 2026 models to arrive, and those will cost more. One last thing, don't fall for the extended warranty upsell unless you're buying from Costco. Best Buy's Geek Squad protection is overpriced, and Amazon's extended warranty is a waste. But Costco's included warranty extension is actually valuable if you're a member. Outro. Here's the bottom line. We're in a brief window where last year's best TVs are hitting historic low prices right before next year's models arrive at higher MSRPs. If you need a TV in 2026, buy it now while clearance deals are live. Feast overall, LG C5 OLED at $1,299. Best budget, TCL QM6K at $547. Best brightness, Hisense U8QG at $1,399. Best cheap OLED, LG B5 at $899. Which of these deals are you jumping on? Are you holding out for 2026 models? Or are you grabbing clearance while it's hot? Let me know in the comments. And if you want honest breakdowns on every TV deal before you spend $1,000, hit that subscribe button. We're here to make sure you don't overpay for something that'll be cheaper next week.